Well, hello there, people of the internet, and hello again. I'm TheMBmulti. Welcome to part 38 of My Doki Doki SNAFU. In the previous episode, we started the Natsuki route through the routes menu, and now we're continuing it. Nothing substantial has been said yet, although there has been like, oh, like the route goes like, oh, like, oh, we're going there. Oh, no, we're not going there. Setting my phone on the kitchen table, I noticed there's a new notification from 3 minutes ago. New message, Natsuki. Another one? Ever since we bumped into each other in the bookstore, Natsuki has been sending me text messages from time to time. Our conversations are quite generic and usually don't go beyond complaining about schoolwork or talking about new manga she's interested in. Let's see. Yeah. Yo, Mark, what you doing? Vibing in my kitchen right now. Vibing? LMAO. Look at you trying to sound cool. Got me some slack, boy, yeah? The way kids text each other these days may as well be for foreign language. Lol, you really do sound like an old man sometimes. Well, my geriatric state aside, you need something? Feeling lonely, maybe? Wink. Keep dreaming. Last girl on Earth would still rather be lonely than text you, LMAO. You've got a bad habit of talking big when you're not actually around. Only because I don't want the others thinking I bully you too much. That's the wrong 2, Natsuki. Should be 00. You know, they say girls are only mean to guys they like. Sounds pretty crazy, huh? There's no response for several seconds. Yeah, right. That only happens in movies and stuff. How would you... How you wound my maidenly heart. There we go. My mind translating this to wound. But I think it's wound, as in like a gunshot wound. But I couldn't get wound. Like, how did I wound up here somehow, you know? I couldn't get that out of my head for the longest time. So if it wasn't to keep you company, why'd you message me? No reason, really. Just figured it would kill some time. Yuri invited me over for dinner tonight, so right now I'm just waiting until it's time to head over there. My muscles tense up as I read over this. She actually mentioned something similar to me once before. Is the two of you eating together a common occurrence? Occurrence, SMH. But you gotta make it sound like some kind of grand event. Old man, remember? True that. And sorta. I'd say we eat together around twice a week. Always at her house? My paranoia grows a bit stronger. That's nice of her. Hey, don't go thinking I'm some freeloader or anything. We eat together when her parents are gone. So I'm totes keeping her company. Plus, I always wash the dishes when we finish eating. You don't gotta get defensive about it. I wasn't trying to imply anything. Oh, speak of the devil, she's calling me. BRB? The next 5 minutes pass in silence as I stare at my screen with an increasingly uneasy feeling. Friends eating together isn't unusual, but still, coming over there frequently and never having Yuri come to her house, I'm probably just overthinking this. Natsuki may be petite, but the chance of her actually being malnourished or bulimic, whatever that may be, is pretty slim. What? Bulimic. Google, define bulimic. It takes forever. Bulimic. Or bulimia? Bulimia nervosa. Sounds like a fucking wizard spell, but it's just Latin. Bulimia nervosa, also known as simply bulimia, is an eating disorder characterized by binge eating followed by purging or fasting. Okay. An excessive concern with body shape and weight. This activity aims to expel the body of calories eaten from the binging phase of the process. Binge eating refers to eating a large amount of food in a short amount of time. Purging refers to the attempt to get rid of the food consumed. This may be done by vomiting or taking laxatives. Okay. Oh yeah, there's an image of teeth. Of, you know, if you vomit too much, like the acids, because you're essentially vomiting up the inside of your stomach, including the stomach acids, and then if you do it too often, then you can see it in your teeth. But if you occasionally like vomit from time to time, of course you won't really notice that, but somebody that suffers from this does it like pretty much all the time, like a finger in the back of their mouth and then vomiting all the time, and that can result in acid erosion on your teeth. Eating a large amount of food in a short amount of time followed by vomiting or the use of laxative, often normal weight. Complications: breakdown of the teeth, depression, anxiety, substance use disorders, and suicides. Okay. Wow. I didn't know that. What is the difference then between this and having anorexia? Or is this a form of anorexia? It does say differential diagnosis. It does list anorexia. Other efforts to lose weight may include the use of diuretics, stimulants, water fasting, or excessive exercise. Most people with bulimia are at normal weight. The forcing of vomiting may result in thickened skin on the knuckles, breakdown of the teeth, and effects on metabolic rate and caloric intake, which cause thyroid dysfunction, whatever that is. Bulimia is frequently associated with other mental disorders such as depression, anxiety, borderline personality disorder, bipolar disorder, and problems with drugs or alcohol. There is also a higher risk of suicide and self-harm. Okay. Oh, anorexia nervosa is something else. They're both called nervosa, it's like a different version of the same thing. Oh yeah, that's right, because anorexia isn't vomiting per se. Anorexia is just deliberately not eating things, I believe. It's been ages. I learned about this in school, but that was a very long time ago. I do remember that. It was like, must have been biology class or whatever. Like, there were like certain courses that were specifically to talk about stuff like that, like suicide and mental disorders and things like anorexia, but we never mentioned that other one, bulimic or whatever. What was it? Bulimic or bulimia nervosa. But we never talked about that, so that's what I was like, what? But yeah, that's why I have heard of anorexia. But yeah, I believe anorexia is like deliberately not eating anything. Like deliberately like saying, oh no, I've had enough, even though you're clearly like starving because you dislike your the way your body looks, and you're going on like it's like a ridiculously extreme version of going on a diet, I believe, essentially is what it is. Like deliberately starving yourself because you think you look too fat or whatever, or because you don't like your body. But then bulimia is different, as in that is binge eating and then vomiting it all out, and that's not necessarily specifically for anorexia. Although I do believe that the vomiting could be happening in anorexia too, but then I believe there the thing is like, even if you like, this may be from movies, this may not be true, but I do believe it is like if you are around other people and they expect you to eat, and then you feel embarrassed to say I don't eat anything, so then you eat it and then you go to the toilet afterwards and then you vomit because you didn't want to worry anybody, so that's why you ate it, but you can't actually keep it in because you feel disgusted by yourself, and then you go to the bathroom and then vomit it out. So I think that's why I was confused by it. Anyway, Natsuki is not that. That was the point this guy was trying to get across. Unpleasant images of my past spring to the surface as these thoughts swirl around my head. Luckily, the sound of buzzing pulls me back to reality before too long. Well, that blows. Did something bad happen? Sorta. Yuri had some stuff come up, so we had to cancel. Damn, I was really looking forward to going over there too. Sorry to hear things didn't work out. As I read over her message, my desire to intervene grows stronger and stronger. Well, it's whatever. These things happen. True. But does this mean you don't have any plans for dinner tonight? Looks that way. In that case, I know this is just me trying to satisfy my own curiosity, but still. Having to cook for another person is a relatively small price to pay. Would you care to join me instead? Several seconds pass with no response. Why am I starting to feel anxious all of a sudden? It's not like her refusing would negatively impact me in any way. What do you mean, join you? Was my message too vague? I meant that since your plans fell through, I wouldn't mind if you came over and ate with me. Of course, if you don't want to, that's fine. Given how she carries herself, I imagine my cooking might not measure up to Yuri's. I understand what you were asking. I meant why? Why invite me? Did she catch onto my motive? No, there's no way. Must be asking for another reason. I'd enjoy the company? Another extended period of silence. You're serious about this? You're really inviting me over for dinner? Correct? This is a joke, right? I really will hate you if you're only trying to mess with me. Then it's lucky I had no such intention. This is a genuine invite with no trickery involved whatsoever. Fine. So you'll come? I see. Well, in that case, could you go ahead and walk over here right now? There are some things I need to do before starting. Yeah, I was waiting to leave for Yuri's anyways. Sounds good. See you soon, Natsuki. Right. I begin staring off into space, not long after setting my phone down. Is this really the right move? Subtle or not, there is a good chance my relationship with her will be strained if she finds out the real reason of my invitation. These doubts linger in my mind as I step out of the kitchen. Yo! Mark, what are you doing here? Would you believe me if I said it was because I couldn't wait to see you? No, probably not. You've got good senses. I don't want to see you. I changed my mind, go away! Did you know why Yuri couldn't come over? She's in my kitchen right now. Come to think of it, this is the first time I've seen you not in uniform. Why bring that up? No reason, I was just thinking how fitting your outfit is. You look very cute. Dummy! Well, fashion aside, I'm making dinner. There are a few things we need to pick up from the grocery. If I'm making dinner, there are a few things we need to pick up from the grocery store first. Huh? You mean you weren't even ready? Not exactly. Preparing a meal for myself would have been easy, but since you likely don't share my sense of taste... Oh, yeah. Sayori mentioned you're always eating canned stuff and baked meat. So she's been dissing my cooking style behind my back, huh? Before you start thinking anything crazy, she only told me because I asked. Seriously? And what possessed you to ask about my dining habits, of all things? You mentioned before about knowing how to cook, and you weren't terrible at baking cookies. So I was just checking to make sure you weren't lying. In my defense, being told I mainly use pre-made items isn't exactly the best representation of my abilities. Don't worry, she said the stuff you make when using real ingredients is good too. That's the only reason I agreed to come. So you've done your research. Well, just don't go setting your expectations too high. This is still me we're talking about. Good point. Getting something edible should probably be about as much as I should hope for, huh? That would certainly be a much easier hurdle to get past. Saying this, I begin walking down the sidewalk. Come on, we should try buying everything before the sun starts going down. Hey, wait up! She rushes over to my side before staring at me with a puzzled look. I don't get it. If you knew you needed to go buy stuff, why'd you tell me to come over right now? My knowledge of what foods are in with high school girls these days is very extensive. Which made letting you choose the ingredients and dish seem like a good idea. So you basically want to make me do all the shopping. Hey, you catch on quick. I'm not sure whether to think you're nice or just super irresponsible. It's nothing. Yeah, let's hurry up and get a move on. Saying this, Natsuki quickens her pace along the sidewalk. We arrive at our destination after a short trip into town. Got any ideas of what you want? Yuri was talking about making curry tonight, so I'm kinda craving it now. Think you're up to cooking some? Sure, it should be easy enough. After towards where they keep the curry powder, the two of us begin scanning the various pouches. I take it you like yours mild? Huh? And why would you think that? The pink skirt maybe? So what, you got a problem with how I eat? Not at all, I was just curious whether I was actually right or not. What about you? Do you even have taste buds or were they too inefficient? While not having them would simplify my life a great deal, I'm afraid I'm not quite that jaded yet. Yet. As for the powder, anything's fine. I'm not particularly weak on spices, if that's what you're asking. It's the wrong Yor. Though I'd prefer avoiding any flavors that'll make me sweat while eating. I feel you there. Seriously, how can anyone enjoy food that makes them feel like they're on fire? To each their own, right? Given your propensity, whatever, for sweet stuff, I wouldn't be surprised if your palate was weaker towards spice than an average person's. What are you, my science teacher? She asked this while grabbing the tamest looking pack on the shelf. Here, this one should work fine. Now what else do we need? They have a sale on chicken right now. Would using that as the meat of the dish be okay with you? Sure. Then you're in charge of grabbing that. Meanwhile, I'll go ahead and collect all the vegetables, carrots, potatoes, the usual. Got it. I'll wait for you near the register after picking out a good pack. Sounds like a plan. Once we've each settled on the duty, Natsuki and I split up to begin gathering ingredients. After getting everything and checking out, the two of us began our trip home. During this, I've noticed Natsuki's in a much better mood than before. Do you enjoy shopping? No, why do you ask? No reason really, you just seem to have even more pep in your step than when we entered the store. That's... Her face turns a light red. That's part of it, I guess. And the other part? Dummy! She shouts this at me before facing the other direction. If it were Sayori, then she'd have said something corny like, it's because we're together. Wonder if Natsuki feels the same way. Glancing at her while thinking this, I notice she's now staring at the bags in my hand. Excited to eat? Yeah, but didn't that stuff end up costing quite a bit? Are you sure you're okay with spending money on me? So you can act responsible once in a while after all. I'm being serious. I don't want to be a burden to anyone. That also sounds like something Sayori would say. Well, as endearing as you are when you're troubled, don't worry, spending this much really isn't an issue. I plop my free hand onto Natsuki's head in an attempt to be reassuring. Hey, what did I say about doing this? Don't make a habit out of it, if I recall correctly. Then why haven't you moved your hand? Oh, sorry, you're right. Being something of a smartass, I begin patting her. That's not what I meant! Yeah, but that's what I meant! What we learn. Sorry, you must have misunderstood what you were asking. Though I suppose that shouldn't be surprising given how often my intelligence is brought into question. Especially by short pink-haired girls. I begin pressing down a bit harder while saying this. Saying you have any intelligence would be an overstatement. Yeah, something we can firmly agree on. With her now amply flustered, I retract my hand. Getting back on the topic of spending, my parents sent me an allowance designated for food and whatnot every 2 weeks. A big house and an allowance? You seem kind of you some kind of secret rich kid or something? Not exactly. Seeing as how I live alone and don't work, an allowance is the only means of keeping me alive. She freezes in her tracks. What did you just say? About being alive? I know, I'm pretty surprised too. If you think about it, humans are just pieces of hard milk running on electricity. What? No, not that. You're missing a T. You just said you lived alone, didn't you? Ah, right. Yeah, I do. She's utterly bewildered by this news. Shouldn't you have brought this up sooner? Why, is it gonna be a problem? Of course it is. I mean, seriously, the two of us are alone together at your house. Blood rushes to her face as she imagines the situation. Now having some immoral thoughts, are we? Shut up! Calm down, alright? There's no reason to get so bent out of shape over this. You can rest assured that I hadn't planned on doing anything devious during your visit. After weighing her options for a moment, Natsuki once again looks away. Fine. But I really will call the police if you try doing anything weird. A fact that'll stay at the forefront of my mind. Now come on, we're only wasting time by standing here. She continues following me after I've begun walking again, only this time from a few meters away.